Welcome back to another episode of Throw the Flag Football. Today's episode, we're going to go over the second round of a rookie draft review of a draft I participated in a couple weeks ago. You can catch the first round if you like, and it's in my YouTube, and it's listed under first round rookie draft review. So you can look at the first 12 picks if you like. This is a contract keeper league, 20-man roster with 8 contract keepers. It is a 1 quarterback, 12-team PPR performance scoring league. So your running backs, your wide receivers, your tight ends will get a point per every reception. Pretty much anybody that catches a ball will get a point per reception. You also will get points for accumulating yardage, passing, receiving, and rushing. And there is a total of 8 contracts that we do. And then the contracts are based off length of time. You can see all the parameters of the league in the first video. It's in about the first 5 minutes, but it's pretty easy to look at that. And let's get right into the review of the players. I know most of you are here to see what players went where and why. I'll give a little bit of opinion of why I think the owners might have picked the player, or just give reviews of the players that have been picked. So we're going to jump right into it with the first pick is Captain America. He's our youngest owner. He's 19 years old. He is the player that likes to trade the most. His philosophy is if you're not trading, you're not trying. At least that's what I think that his philosophy is, because he's always trading. He's always recycling his roster every year, but it works for him, and he wins with that philosophy. So the first pick is going to be the 2-1, and it's going to be by Captain America, and it's going to be Michael Carter. Michael Carter is the running back out of North Carolina. He was part of a duo with Tyrell Williams, who went in the first round. Carter is a good running back. He is elusive. He's got good moves. He's got speed and burst, at least through the first 2 levels. Now, he can be caught from behind, so his long speed is a little bit lacking, but it's not lacking enough to be a problem. He is a good running back, and most importantly, though, is when he goes through the first 5 to 10 yards, it's with quickness and explosiveness, and his vision and moves are very good. He's very good in a zone scheme, and I think he's going to be very good in New York eventually, depending on how they operate. Now, it's going to be a West Coast style offense, so he's going to be kind of that zone feel for it, and it's going to be where he is going to get more opportunities with catching the balls out of the backfield. He is a little smaller. His pass protection needs some work, but overall, I think he's going to be okay here. Now, it's going to be a committee style probably in the beginning, and it could be a committee all the way through. You just don't know. They have other players that are there to be part of the committee. You're looking at Tevin Coleman. Now, Tevin Coleman's going to be very familiar with the offense. The whole offense is run or based off the Shanahan tree, which Coleman played for the Niners for Kyle. And so, he's going to be very familiar with the offense. He'll probably be the starter at the beginning of the season. However, Coleman has an injury problem. He can't stay healthy, and I don't expect anything different. By midseason, I think Michael Carter could be the starter. Ty Johnson's there, LaMichael Pirine is there, but Carter's probably better than those guys right now. And so, I don't know. Ty Johnson's pretty good too, but and LaMichael Pirine was drafted in the 4th round, but he was drafted by basically another coaching staff. So this coaching staff wanted to go get Michael Carter, and they did. So I think they were pretty excited when they got Michael Carter. So I think at the end of the day, you could be looking at Michael Carter being the main guy in the offense by midseason. But what that means in a committee, I don't know. Sometimes in this offense, if you want to model it after San Francisco, they go by the hot hand. So we'll have to see how that goes. But really, right now at this point in the draft, it's probably one of the last 2 running backs I would have selected. And I do actually like Michael Carter here. And Trey Sermon as well would have probably been a consideration. But Michael Carter went here at the 2-1. So Captain America, good job on the pick. And moving on to the 2-2, this is Cromartie's Daycare. This is his first pick of this rookie draft, and he selects Cadarius Tony. Cadarius Tony selected by the New York Giants at 20th overall. He was part of the trade where the Giants moved back and made a trade with Chicago so Chicago could get Justin Fields. And so they ended up getting a receiver. Now, the rumor was that they wanted Devontae Smith, but the Eagles jumped up and made a trade with Dallas and got Smith, so they moved back. They get Cadarius Tony, who's more of a gadget-style player, in my opinion. He's been comped to Percy Harvin. I see more of a Tavon Austin for me, but he's been comped to Percy Harvin with his speed and elusiveness. He is very fast. He is very quick. He can make you look stupid in the open field if you let him. He will break your ankles. He's that kind of player. He's dangerous in space, and that's really what you would have to do to get him the ball in space. If you get a wrap of him pretty good, he goes down pretty easily. But as far as a player goes, he's a pretty good player. The problem is where he landed in New York. The Giants have a lot of mouths to feed. Kenny Galladay, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, Evan Ingram, Saquon Barkley's going to be back at full strength. John Ross was signed in free agency. So there's a lot of mouths to feed here. You just don't know what kind of volume he's going to get. Now, Sterling Shepard could end up being a cut or a trade post June 1. They'll save about $4 million on the cap if they do that. So you got to be aware of that, because if Sterling Shepard goes away, he becomes a little bit more where he's going to get a little more target share. So he becomes a little more valuable at that point. However, Sterling Shepard was in the OTAs, and I don't know if they would have done that if they were looking to cut him or keep him, because if he's injured, they got to pay him. So I think if you're going to look at how they kept him for OTAs, you got to think they're going to probably keep him on the roster. So we're back to a lot of mouths to feed. Anyway, though, draft capital and a very good player in space, and that was Cromartie's first pick, the 2-2. Let's jump to the 2-3. This was a pick that was made by myself, my team called Men of Steel. We have Deshaun Watson and we have Justin Fields now on the roster. I ended up making a trade with Captain America. I traded my 1-9, moved back to the 1-12, selected Justin Fields, and then I gained the 2-3 in that trade. And I ended up deciding to double down on quarterbacks, which is something I don't normally do. This is kind of out of character for me. I probably in the past would have maybe took the Elijah Moore here. I would have took a Trey Sermon here and would have went another position. But I really just think that Trey Lance's upside and the fact that he's in San Francisco and landed in a very good spot, he became the best player on the board in my opinion. I just decided I'm going to take the best player on the board. If that's my opinion and that's my view, that's what I'm going to do. And I did it. I took Trey Lance, big arm, big quarterback, probably the best runner of the football as far as all of the quarterbacks in the 2021 class, including Justin Fields. Now, Fields is going to be more of a mobile guy, a faster guy in open field, but I'm talking about a power running style football quarterback like Cam Newton. And I expect that he'll get vulturing touchdowns away from Sermon and Mostert at the goal line. So I'm thinking that you're going to get some touchdowns that way. I think that his arm is good enough. I think he's extremely intelligent, which is a big thing for me. I think he's more of a better fantasy quarterback than a real quarterback. And let me say, I would have selected Fields over him if I was the San Francisco decision maker. But, that's for another video. Some of the concerns that I have with him is his experience. He's only played in 17 games. He only played in one game last year. So, there's some issues with the experience that you have to deal with. Not a big fan of that. Also, the competition or level competition he played against was FCS level of competition. Not a big fan of that either. So, there are concerns. How much is he going to play this season? Do I need to put him on my taxi squad? Well, I personally think that they're going to end up playing him sooner than later, simply because he didn't play much last year. And I just can't see you drafting a guy third overall and he didn't play last year, and now you're going to hold him out another year. So it's going to be almost 2 years of not playing organized football or an organized game. They might be patient with him, but he's not sitting. This isn't the Patrick Mahomes plan. It's just not going to happen that way. It can't be. So, and if it is, I'll work with it. I'll deal with it. I plan on being very patient with Trey Lance. But, at this point in time, I thought he was the best player on the board. And so we went that route with him. One last thing about him is that the draft capital, they gave up 2 first-round picks to get him, and they went to 3. He's the 3rd pick overall. It's very comforting. He's going to get his shot, and it's just a matter of when. So that was my pick. We're moving on. 2-4, Black Panther, champion of the league. This guy is a good player. He's been in our league 3 years, but he's been very competitive in those first 2 years and ended up winning a championship last year. So a good player. I'm glad he's in the league. I like the way he thinks. I like the way he plays. He's an experienced fantasy player. He hasn't been part of the league very long, but I've known him for a very long time. So I'm glad to have him on board. He ends up selecting Zach Wilson. Honestly, can't say why. I don't know. I think he has an established quarterback on his roster, but I think that he might have been thinking like I was thinking. Best player on the board, and he was going to select him. Shanahan-style offense, West Coast offense, very wordy, very hard offense to learn, but the kid's very intelligent. He went to BYU, and, he has got an arm that he can make off-platform throws. He's been comped to Aaron Rodgers. He's been comped to Patrick Mahomes. I think that's a little rough. Personally, I think that, when you're getting comped, that's a little pressure. But I think this kid can handle it. I actually comp him more to a Baker Mayfield, and maybe I see a little bit of Drew Brees in him. Maybe not with arm strength as much as how he moves in the pocket. And then outside of the pocket, I definitely see a Baker Mayfield. I've seen him comp to Johnny Manziel. I don't see that. I think he is much better player than Johnny Manziel ever was or will be or would have been. So I think that, more likely a little bit more, and maybe, just souped up Baker Mayfield is what I like about him. I think that his cockiness, he's got a little bit of cockiness, but it's not as bad as Baker's is. It's toned down a little bit. I enjoy that about a quarterback. I want my quarterbacks to have that attitude. And I think that, the question marks with him is going to be how he handles New York. I actually think he'll handle it, but I think that's one thing about it. How quickly can he get started in the offense? Because again, historically, this offense in its first year scores about 20 points on average. If you look after that, though, and you look at the Shanahan style tree and the offenses after that, offenses year 2 and 3, they usually score a lot more points and do a lot more better. Going to need to be patient with this kid, but his off-platform throws are amazing. His left to right mobility is incredible. He's a really good player. Concerns, I would say that, because he played at BYU, the offensive line was outstanding. He faced very little pressure. He was never smacked in the face. That's going to happen here at the NFL level, though. How's he going to react when he gets smacked in the face? How's he going to react when there's adversity? When he's not kept clean, because he's been kept clean pretty much his whole career at BYU. So we're going to find out. We're going to see level of competition. Also, same thing with Trey Lance is, one concern, one of many little concerns. But these are just concerns that you have to think about when you're thinking about taking a player. His level of competition wasn't that great. He struggled in the Coastal Carolina game, which was his really own game. One game that I saw that he actually faced some adversity. So, we'll wait and see. His decision-making can be questionable at times because he's a gunslinging mentality type player, kind of like a Brett Favre. He's going to go for it. He's not afraid of anything. And he can throw the ball in windows, too. So, good player here, good pick. 2-4, Black Panther selects Zach Wilson. I kind of like the pick. I think he's been growing on me a little bit in the last couple weeks. So, there's that. And 2-5, this is going to be Shazam's pick. 2-5 is where the last running back I would select in this draft goes. It's Trey Sermon. Good size, good burst in the hole, good burst to the second level. He does lack some long speed. He can be caught from behind, but it really doesn't make a difference if you can get past that second level and the kind of burst that he has. Strong, powerful runner, good stiff arm. He'll hurdle players. He is a very good player. Ohio State's leading rusher for one game, but he just blew it open against Northwestern, broke Eddie George's record, had a great game in the playoffs against Clemson. So you're looking at a kid that is going to be able to catch the ball as well. His pass protection's pretty decent. So the concerns I have with him are injury. He's got an injury history concern. He had that collarbone he broke in the national championship game. He had some other injuries a little bit prior to that in high school and in Oklahoma. So there's an injury history with him. The fact that he is in San Francisco, the landing spot is not ideal because they like to use a committee approach. They got a Mostert there. They did have Jeff Wilson until Jeff Wilson's injury, so that kind of helped Sermon a little bit. Wilson tore his MCL. He'll be out 4 to 6 months. But when you're looking at how they like to play in committee. I could see them actually getting another back involved somewhere down the line to keep with that committee approach. Historically, in the last few years, except for the Carlos Hyde couple years where they used him as a bell cow, that's not happening anymore. The last couple years, when they went to the Super Bowl, they used a committee approach. I assume that they'll keep that approach. Then you also have to worry about Trey Lance. Trey Lance vulturing touchdowns at the goal line is going to be something that's going to happen. You don't have a guy that can run like Cam Newton and not use him at the goal line. I seriously doubt that they're going to try to preserve Lance. I think they're going to want to win. They're kind of in a pressure situation by giving up 2 first-round picks to get Lance. So he's going to be very involved, and I think he's going to be very involved at the goal line. So how many touchdowns does Lance get where Sermon doesn't get that opportunity? And if it's a committee, that's my main concern. That's the reason why I didn't take him. I was worried about the committee approach. I was also worried about Trey Lance and the vulture approach. And so I decided to make my decision to go away from him. But now that Jeff Wilson's hurt, this is going to bring up his volume. That might have made the decision for me at that point. I might have made the decision to go Sermon. It would have been very close. But now it's becoming a much better pick now that Jeff Wilson's out of the picture. But they could get another back, and that's a possibility. So you got to put that in your mind as well. Good pick here, though, by Shazam. We're moving on. 2-6, Cromartie's Daycare takes Chuba Hubbard. It sounds like a bubble gum. Chuba Hubbard. Selected both in the NFL and in the Canadian draft. He was selected by the Calgary Stampede in their 5th round. Pretty interesting to be selected in 2 drafts. Smaller back, legit track speed. Just didn't see a lot for him. And the fact that his landing spot is Carolina behind CMC, I just don't see where you see the upside with this player. I don't like this pick at all, only because I don't know when you have to almost get an injury to CMC to be interesting and to be useful of a pick here. And I think there were other players on the board that you could have selected that would have been more appropriate here. But if something happens to CMC, or if this is going to be where we can't have Christian McCaffrey have this amount of carries. He has a high volume of carries, which may have been part of the reason why he got hurt. They might be looking to tone it back. If that's the case, this becomes a little more interesting of a pick. But for me, from what I watched, he just didn't look like he had a bunch of moves. He just looked like he relied on his speed, which he has a lot of. It wouldn't have been my pick. Not a fan of this pick at all. I probably would have went a different direction. But, everybody has got their own opinion, and Cromartie obviously has reasons to make this pick. So for him, it's probably a good pick, but he doesn't have CMC, so it's not a handcuff type situation. Not quite sure what happened here, but we're moving on. 2-7. Black Hole takes Josh Parmer, our 2nd Canadian in a row. Josh Parmer was I think he grew up or was born out of Toronto, something in that range. Good size, good hands, excellent route tree. Kid can run a route tree. He's got speed, but not a lot of speed. So he's kind of got a long speed. He takes build-up time to speed. He is got good body control, and he plays physical. He'll match up against DBs. He'll get as physical with the DBs as they get with them. He had some production questions. I think he only had 1 game over 100 yards in his career. Didn't see a lot of them. How much of that was quarterback play, though? He didn't have a lot of great quarterbacks at Tennessee while he was there. Like to see what he could do with a better quarterback. Like his size, and he could be a very good player. His best games came up against Alabama and Georgia, and those are some serious DBs, right? You got Surtain, who's a 1st-round guy, and Georgia had a pretty good DB as well. His name I'm lost for a moment, but he's more of a guy that can compete. I think he competes better against better competition. So we'll see what happens with them. They've got Keenan Allen there at the Los Angeles. Has Keenan Allen, they got Mike Williams. So he's kind of in a similar situation as Terrace Marshall, where I can see when he becomes the 3rd option right away, he's going to get some volume. You're going to get some participation from him right away. So if you're looking for rookie production, this is not a bad player to go with. And Josh Parmer, I think he went in 2nd round, so he's got decent draft capital. 2nd or 3rd round. It might have been 3rd round. So I think it is 3rd round. But still, that's good enough. He doesn't cross that 4th round, line in the sand. So, good player, good pick by Black Hole. I think that, I think he was thinking this is the best wide receiver on the board. So that's the pick he makes. Moving on to the 2-8. This is the Joker. He takes Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's got a brother, plays for the Packers, Agnemius, I think, St. Brown. I might be mispronouncing that name. Decent size, average hands, pretty much average at everything. Jack of all trades type player. Opportunity there in Detroit for him, though. Tyrell Williams might be the really only competition there. So he's going to get some looks. Drafted in the 4th round. Not a big historical advantage to being drafted in the 4th round if you want to get analytical about it. 4th round wide receivers. They don't tend to produce a lot. I mean, you have Antonio Brown, of course, that was after the 4th round. But if you look at the history of it, 4th round wide receivers, they don't perform very well, usually in the NFL. I don't know about this pick, to be honest with you, as far as what the Detroit Lions were thinking. But, to me, he's just pretty much average. He had some clutch games at USC, had a couple game winners at USC. I think his attitude's pretty good. But I just don't think he is a quality wide receiver as far as the NFL goes. If you're going to evaluate NFL talent, I think that, St. Brown is going to be a player that's going to be able to compete, but he has got that 4th round capital where you start to think, I don't know, it was somewhere like 102 or something like that in the 4th round. I don't know exactly, but I know he was in the 4th round. Moving on, just to finish that pick, I just think with the players that were left on the board, even at the wide receiver position, you could have probably done so much more with this pick. I think you would, Elijah Moore was still on the board. Amari Rodgers is still on the board. And, I get it, though. I get what he's thinking. There's opportunity here. And there is opportunity here. So we're going to wait and see. He might be right and I could be wrong. I just think he's a very average wide receiver. But if you want to look at target share and that's your idea, this is not a bad pick if that's what you think is going to happen. Moving on to the 2-9. This is going to be Thor. This is our lone lady owner. She is a player that's been in the league for a very long time, so she is experienced. She does have some history of taking some very interesting rookie picks and, seeing how it turns out from there. So I like how she goes for it. She doesn't mess around. She's going to make a leap. She's going to make a leap. This pick might be a little bit of a leap. This is going to be Javian Hawkins, and it's the Falcons running back that was an undrafted free agent, selected not in the NFL draft, but was given a contract after the draft. He's a smaller back, a lot of speed. He actually kind of moves, to me, kind of like a Tyreek Hill as far as how he moves, but he's a running back. So I don't know if there could be a plan to maybe move him to the slot. He might be a little too big for the slot as far as weight, although he was listed at 196 pounds. Maybe not. I think he's actually less than that from the film I reviewed. Speed. The kid can fly. So if you're going to make a pick based off some speed, he would be one of the number 1 picks because this kid can fly. And if he gets an open field, it's over. I mean, you might as well forget it. Save your breath. If you're a DB kind of behind him by a step, you just put on the shades and relax because you're just going to have to understand that you're going to be eating dust because that's what's going to happen. The kid is that fast. I don't know. You're looking at a home run swing here and lightning in a bottle. Undrafted free agents, they don't perform well at all in the NFL as far as historical value goes. As historically how they perform, it is very difficult to hit on an undrafted free agent. So just based off that alone, I probably wouldn't have selected him. There is some opportunity here because of the running backs in Atlanta. You got Mike Davis, and pretty much nobody else. However, I do think that they're going to probably look to go pick somebody else up very shortly, maybe get another running back at free agency. I don't know what they're going to do with Hawkins. I don't even know if Hawkins will make the Atlanta Falcons. But that being said, I would love to see this kid play in the NFL because of his speed alone. I think it would be a lot of fun. So if it does work out, I'll give her all the kudos and the props in the world. I just don't think it will. So I think it's a bad pick here considering everybody else on the board. Moving on to the next pick at the 210, Devil Dogs, our proud Marine. Again, a great drafter. If you listen to my video prior in the first round, this guy can draft some players now. And then he selects Jamar Jefferson's Lions running back. A lot of swings late, a lot of home run swings late of this rookie draft at running backs. I get it. Running back is a need for most of these rosters. So I think that this is just another home run swing. I think the Lions, they drafted him in the 7th round. So there's not a lot of draft capital here. It's kind of the same thing with Hawkins. It's very easy to cut a 7th round player or undrafted free agent player because there's no team investment. There's no investment in these players. They can be cut just in training camp. I mean, and quickly because you don't have anything wrapped into them. There's not a lot of money on them. But again, this kid is a little bit better back than that, I think. I just think he kind of fell down the board. He's a little smaller. He plays a little smaller. He's got some speed to him. Really, Swift's going to be the guy there. And then the last thing I kind of looked at is the fact that they're actively looking for another running back. The Lions are actively looking for another running back. They just interviewed Todd Gurley, and now I don't think that was a serious interview. I just think they wanted to kind of feel him out. But it obviously tells me if you're pulling Todd Gurley in for a visit, that you have some concerns with your running back core and that you're probably going to go find another running quarterback. And you got a couple guys sneaking out there, right? You got Le'Veon Bell that's still out there. You got Devontae Freeman that's still out there. You got a couple guys that are probably going to end up getting into camp somewhere later on down the line. Definitely could see Bell. This could be a fit for Bell, behind Swift. Also, I could see Le'Veon going to Miami, but that's another whole video. Devontae Freeman could also be a guy that could fit here. There is a few guys that are out there just kind of looming that I think some of these teams are going to, like the Falcons and the Lions, are going to select. So it's kind of dangerous to take these players that are fringe players in the NFL because they could be replaced by guys that used to be able to do it for a living and are on their last leg. So at any rate, Jamar Jefferson goes at the 210 to Devil Dogs. Another pick I would not have done, especially with players still left on the board. And I'm going to be harping on this a little bit because there are some other really good, talented players with draft capital. Elijah Moore comes to mind immediately to me because, and I think he goes in the next pick, or the next 2 picks. Just amazing that, draft capital players are not being selected. At any rate, it's a home run swing for a running back, and I get it. I need running backs too. I only have 2, and one is Robinson. So, I need running backs too, but the value for me was just, not there with the rest of the running backs on the board. So at 211, the guy I just spoke of, Elijah Moore. So actually he goes 211 to Captain America, who makes a trade with Silver Surfer. He gives up his 512 in the veteran draft, which is the 3rd pick of our veteran draft, 3rd round pick of our veteran draft. And so he trades that around the 512, so it's the last pick in the 5th round of the veteran draft. He gives up for the 211. He must have seen what I saw, Elijah Moore sitting there, figured I better go get this guy now before somebody else makes a trade to do it. What I have written is, wow, he lasted this long. 211, drafted early in the 2nd round of the NFL draft. He's thought of as a 1st round wide receiver. He's got good speed, good hands, good route running. He can break people's ankles. This is a good player. I think he could end up being the number 1 in New York almost immediately, depending on what happens to Jamison Crowder. Jamison Crowder could be a June 1st post-cut. They get to save some cap money on him if they do cut him or trade him. So I think Crowder isn't long for New York, in my opinion. I think Moore is going to be, with Corey Davis, will probably be the 1A to 1B. I think they're both number 2 wide receivers, but I think Moore has the potential out of the slot to end up being better than that. Traditionally, I just don't see slot guys as being number 1s. There are a few that are. There are a few that definitely are. Justin Jefferson, who I think can play outside too, but played a lot of slot, became a number 1. I think Elijah Moore can. I think he can end up playing on the outside. I've seen him play on the outside. So we're talking about a cat that could be the number 1 as well, either on the inside or the slot. Good player, incredible value here at 211. I was considering him at the 2-3. He probably should have went in the 1st round, but I also remember watching his tape and not being super impressed, although I might not have watched the right games. The more I started reading up on him when I was at my pick, the more that I couldn't understand why I didn't like him more. And so that is part of the problem, though. You start to have to question your own self when NFL scouts like a player more than you do. Who do you trust, yourself, or do you trust the draft gurus and the scouts? You know, you have to take another look, and that made me take another look. I think that he's a good player, but I think this is a standing value at the 211. Problems with the pick, same as prior with the offense. It may take a little while for this offense to click. It may take a year or two for this pick to come into to what it really may end up being as far as value goes. But if you're patient and you let it work, I think Elijah Moore is going to be a good player for you. You just have to be patient. And I think you got to be patient with all the players in the Jet offense. Last pick, Captain America selects Dez Fitzpatrick. I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit here. Anyway, Dez Fitzpatrick, Titans wide receiver. Long strider, build up speed. He's a big play receiver, questionable hands though. He had a lot of drops from what I can see. Time to time, maybe concentration drops, but still drops nonetheless. His route running, he needs to work on his route running. He went to a good place though. Tennessee, they jettisoned Corey Davis. Somebody's got to take those balls. It's not going to just be the tight end, Frisker. So, I mean, of course you got A.J. Brown there, who's going to be the number one, but they don't have a whole lot else. And Ryan Tannehill's got to have somebody to throw the ball to. And so Dez, who when he made the pick, I kind of poo-pooed the pick. And I kind of did because I didn't see the value in it. He's got a little more value based on opportunity. Draft capital, we'll wait and see. But now I understand what he was thinking. What he was thinking was that somebody's got to catch the ball. And this kid may develop into a good receiver. So that's going to do it. That's our rookie draft. Hope you enjoyed the video. I enjoyed, once again, giving it out to you folks. I hope you enjoy watching it. And if you do have anything, questions or comments, let me know. I hope you have a wonderful Memorial holiday. Thank you to all our vets that are no longer with us. This holiday is for you. And I hope that you have a wonderful night. Thank you very much.